Animal mummification in ancient Egypt. It is widely known that the ancient Egyptians mummified their dead due to their belief that the person would be preserved for the afterlife. What is less well known is that the ancient Egyptians also mummified animals. Archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of thousands of mummified animals all throughout Egypt. Included among the preserved animals are cats, crocodiles, bulls, snakes, birds, fish, baboons, dogs, gazelles, lions, and even elephants. The main purpose of mummifying animals was for them to serve as companions for dead humans in the afterlife. Mummified animals were also offered to Egyptian gods on special holidays and were used as sacrifices to ask the gods for good weather and good harvests. Thanks to their extensive research, archaeologists have discovered the methods the Egyptians used for mummifying the animals. During the heyday of archaeological expeditions to Egypt in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, animal mummies were discovered but were considered to be of secondary importance to mummified human remains and the artifacts found alongside them. More extensive work has been done on mummified animals in recent years by experts called zooarchaeologists. They have uncovered the secrets of animal mummification. Typically, the animal's internal organs were manually removed or extracted through the addition of a turpentine and cedar oil compound that liquefied the organs. Then, the embalmers placed small linen sacks of natron, a type of salt mined in Egypt since ancient times, inside the body to help absorb any moisture and fat as the animal dried. Once the animal's body had dried, the embalmers wrapped in linen, upon which they usually wrote religious symbols. Some mummified animals were also placed inside wooden or stone coffins. Mummified animals were not exclusive to pharaohs and members of the upper class, as they have been discovered in the tombs of both the very rich and the very poor. Typically, the mummified animals were the beloved pets of the deceased. When a person died, his or her pet was frequently killed and mummified to serve as the individual's companion in the afterlife. For pharaohs and the extremely wealthy, these pets tended to be exotic animals, but tombs of common people have typically been found to have more normal pets such as dogs. When a pharaoh died, thousands of animals were regularly slaughtered and mummified as part of the burial rites. In addition to whole animals, pieces of preserved meat were wrapped and placed in the tomb to serve as food sources for the person in the afterlife. Some animals, such as apis bulls and crocodiles, were believed to represent gods and were thus mummified to appease them. Often, an apis bull was cared for all its life and was treated as if it were a god. Upon its death, it was set on a special stone to dry so that it could be mummified. Then, a large parade was held in its honor as priests, nobles, and commoners wailed at the loss of the bull. The tombs where these bulls were buried held many valuables too tempting for looters to pass up, so zooarchaeologists have yet to find an intact mummified apis bull. The Egyptians also revered and mummified crocodiles since they believed crocodiles could predict the Nile River floods. The crocodiles living there instinctively laid their eggs above the waterline of the flooded Nile River, thus giving warning to the Egyptians of how high or low the coming flood would be. Animal mummification was a big business in ancient Egypt. During festivals or in times of sorrow, the Egyptians offered mummified animals to their gods in the hope of pleasing them. Businesses were established to sell these mummified votives to pilgrims who had traveled far to temples to make sacrifices to the gods. These mummified animals ranged from small insects and shrews to larger ones such as cats and birds. Typically, the price depended on the size of the mummy. Zooarchaeologists have discovered that some of these animal mummy salesmen were not particularly honest. Some linen-wrapped mummies in ancient temples have been found to have contained nothing more than some bones or a few feathers of an animal, while some merely held mud and stones. Nevertheless, most were legitimate mummified animals. As a result, the Egyptians left behind tens of thousands of examples that zooarchaeologists have been able to examine to help them learn more about ancient Egypt. Glossary. Embalmer, a person who prepares a dead body for burial. Votives, offerings.